All right, so first things first, Guernica, how are you?
I'm good. I'm really good. I'm excited for Christmas and yeah, some days off.
Is
So I'm good.
it?
How are you?
I'm not too bad at all. Is it important to have a couple of weeks off, like now for Christmas when you're a touring musician and you're always kind of on the go?
I think it's super important, but unfortunately, it's really hard to have days off at all. Like I wouldn't say there's any weeks ever, especially when you're doing everything on your own, basically. I just had a meeting with the girls in the band, and we're trying to schedule everything, so at least we can have a few days off next week.
Mm.
But yeah, it's very
Well,
important to actually have some downtime too.
but then let's kind of get into how the band came to be and why the situation is the way it is. And I don't want to get into too much of the history, but
The
when
recent
you
history, you mean, or what?
yeah, just what happened with Thundermother and everything, because you've told this story before. But
Yeah.
one thing I was wondering is when it kind of settled that you were going to make a change and yeah, you were going to do something different. Was that liberating in a way?
Initially, no, not at all. To be completely honest, it was just really scary and just felt like I was living a nightmare, my own
Okay.
nightmare. So that's kind of how it felt. But regardless of me feeling very like lost and just devastated by the whole thing, I guess I have the mentality of always like keep going, keep going. So even though I'm really sad, I'm always already starting to think of like a plan in my head and stuff like that.
Mm.
So I mean, it never stops me from moving forward, but it was really tough.
No, I can imagine. But one thing, as you mentioned, that I found very interesting, and within weeks, it almost feels like you already had a new plan, and okay, we're going to do this new thing. We're going to start a
Yeah.
new band, and yeah, two of the women join you. So that transition and obviously the hurt isn't gone all of a sudden, but that quick transition, what was that like for you?
It was a good way of for all of us to deal with the pain of it all and
Mm,
so I don't know, we just put all our energy towards that, the hurt, the pain, the anxiety, all of it. We just put it into working. Plus, I think we all felt it was really important to also show the world. I mean, we know this, the rock community is not that big, and as
sure,
much as we reach a certain success with Thundermother, we're fully aware that we weren't like huge or anything like that, but
sure.
we still reached a certain level. But within that little pond or whatever of rock people that knew us, um, we all felt that nobody really knew we actually how much of a part we were for Thundermother to become what Thundermother was, and like with the songwriting, with the creative process, also all the workload. Um, so I think for us it was also very important to be like, sorry, I'm just gonna move around a little bit. It was just really important to show the world that we are the hardworking ones, and we actually carried most of the workload while in the other band,
Okay.
and that we could do by showing the world that we are really efficient and we try to be as professional and yeah, deal with our shit this way.
Did you have any songs at all that you had written before the breakup in a way that you could use? Because if you go through the lyrics, I can see it's also reflective of that time, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I had the song Running I had
Okay,
written for my solo project because I've been working on my solo music as well.
sure.
And that song just I mean I presented it to the girls and they really liked it and they put their touch on the song. Um, but that was a song that I had from just a year before, and then also Phoenix was a song that initially was thought we were gonna have on Black and Gold, the latest album with Thundermother that
Mm.
we put out last year. And it was a song that I was really fighting for it to get on the record because I loved it. But well, due to one person, it didn't. And we're lucky it didn't now because it just when everything happened, I told Emily, because Emily wrote that song with Johan Randera, our producer,
Mm.
that we have to have that song on our record, but we just need to change the lyrics so it fits our current situation. Because I don't know, I think it's important to, as at least for me as a singer, to whatever I'm singing and performing, I want to at least have been part of or be able to relate to or stand by in more a personal way. So we rewrote the lyrics a bit, and yeah, it became our first song. And then Undiscovered Past was also a song that Moana and Emily had worked
Okay.
on, like like you work on songs and
Sure.
they just disappear somewhere in a drive. And she just picked it up and showed us this track, Mona, from their old band. And we were like, well, this is kind of cool. I mean, it's definitely different, but so I sat down and like fixed the lyrics, like rewrote the song basically lyrically. Um, so yeah, so we have, yeah, three of them are basically like
Okay.
more or less uh old stuff that we revamped and changed it up a little
But
bit. Yeah.
it's interesting then that Like a Phoenix epitomizes in a sense what you've been through so well, the kind of crashing, burning, and then having to the
Yeah.
rebirth of it all in a sense. What you mentioned, and I don't want to. If you don't want to talk about any of this, that's completely fine. But what was the most difficult thing of starting over in your own mind?
To me, it was, I think that the most difficult thing for me was I just felt very cheated.
Mm.
Like I felt cheated by my, like, all the hard work that I put in, my heart, my soul, all the efforts that I put in since day one. And I joined in 2017, which Emily did too. Uh, I know, like, there's proof in the fact that the efforts that we put in made the band what it was, because the albums that we were part in writing have so far been the biggest stuff that the band has put out
Mm.
and things like that. So I felt like I've been working my ass off in an environment that mistreated me for years and just taking shit, just like
Sure.
I feel like being taking how would you say this in English without it sounding weird? But like sometimes I feel like being mistreated, I'm really good at being mistreated a long time. Like it's almost like it's a weird superpower. Like I could just be in a very bad situation for a very long time. So I'm also very grateful that kind of I got fired, because I myself would have never been able to take myself out of that very toxic
Mm.
environment. Um, but
See, and
yeah.
that's what I kind of meant with feeling liberated, because then you're in I'm gonna guess, obviously I don't know you, but that the situation that you're in now is much better. So that must be
Yeah.
great.
No, but that's what it is. But it's like half a year ago, that was not the feeling. Half a year
Sure.
ago, I was just frustrated over the fact that there was people that were riding my back. Like
Mm.
people are getting the opportunities that me and the girls worked hard to get, like the Scorpions tour in Europe and all these things, that they were not, in my opinion, deserving of, because they don't have the skill set to manage that kind of thing. Like we've toured so much extensively that you still have to, I don't know, I feel like you need to be prepared to be able to do a thing like that, not just performance wise, but also as a musician to be at a
Sure.
certain level. So it just, that really fucked with my mind, really. But to be honest, in this moment right now, I'm so happy and grateful that it happened the way it did. I mean, as much, it's a hurt. I'm still dealing with a lot of trauma from it,
Sure.
but I'm in a place where I'm enjoying music again. I can see a happy future for me and the girls, and I really love working with both Mona and Emily. Like we have such a beautiful, respectful, loving friendship and work relationship that I no, I feel really blessed that I have them too. Really, really grateful and like excited for the future now. Before it was just like, oh fuck, is this the price I have to pay? Like
Mm.
to get my dreams going, But now it's like, okay, no, you live and you learn.
But that's awesome to hear that you're in a good place now. And in terms of Emily and Mona joining you, I wrote a line down from Queens, and obviously Queens is about a lot more. But there's one line in Queens stick together, and this
Yeah.
idea of those two women supporting you and kind of going along with you. How much did that mean to you? And what is the kind of chemistry now with the three of you?
It means everything to me. I think that if they wouldn't have made that decision for themselves, and obviously it was great for me too. I don't know if I would have been able to get out of bed,
Mm,
period, this year. Like I would have probably gone into a very, very deep depression. I mean, that's kind of where we've all been, like very close to like, going past that wall, of just like not feeling great at all. So
sure.
I love them, and I feel so grateful for them. And I think that, and I don't think, I know, for me, it's a true statement that queens stick together, because I've always been a team player. I grew up with sisters. I love working with women, and queens can be any gender or whatever. But in this case, like the stereotype of
Sure.
women not being able to work with women, I've never had a problem with that, and I actually enjoy it so much. So just because there's one rotten apple here and there, I mean, shit happens, that's life. So yeah, I think it's really beautiful. And with that line, I'm just sorry, this is such a
No, no,
long
go
rant,
ahead,
but
go ahead.
we've become friends with all the old band members of Thundermother who were put through the exact same
Mm,
trauma and experience. So um, I think it's in a dark way a very beautiful thing that has turned out. Like we are now sharing a rehearsal space with Tilda and Georgia, who played in Thundermother before us. And just today, like one of the first members wrote to Moana and just gave us like a great, like a supportive thing. So I think that good people can see good people, and how like there's a sisterhood now that is really real. So it's nice also to get rid of the bad apples so you can like focus and be happy.
that's really good to hear. And what you just now said, the kind of continuing with a clear mind in a sense. When you when
Mm-hmm.
you when you think about the music that ended up now on Phoenix, then
Mm-hmm.
what was it about? Or what were you able to do now that you had more control, or at least the three of you had now more control? And what were you able to do that you perhaps wouldn't be able to in Thundermother in terms of the musical direction, in terms of your own vocal lines and all that stuff?
Well, vocally, I don't. I think I've always kind of been able to do my thing, but
Okay.
um, creatively, it's been really fun because it's been a fun, relaxed process where we can all present ideas and everyone gets an opportunity to show those ideas, and nobody's just like saying no before like you even had seen it or heard it.
Mm,
So it's been a very much more respectful, loving environment in that way, which has been amazing. But also the fact that we decided also actively to just skip anything that had to do with AC/DC, not because we don't love the music, but we just felt a little like fed up with
sure,
the whole thing.
sure.
And
There are more
creatively, it
more
just felt
chords to
like,
play.
yeah, you're just like you're just so limited creatively,
Mm.
and it's sickening. So it was really fun that we all have different backgrounds, so we could really like play and do crazy things. And yeah, I know this album in many ways maybe is a little like out there because I think being free from a person that always dragged you back to the basics, it just now we just went ahead and did whatever the fuck we wanted, and it was really such a good time. And also I want to add um, that Mona is such a great guitar player, and it was really incredible to see her work ethic, and also see her developing her own guitar solos, and like working really hard on like putting like she recorded the bass and guitar in the
Mm.
studio. So she's a beast, and she's such a good musician. So it's also been really nice to have a guitar player that has a bigger range and is like more open to try things. But yeah, definitely working with like very stable musicians has been amazing as well.
Just very quickly, because you mentioned you all three have different influences, and another line from Queens that I wrote down: "The warriors that paved the way," and obviously this is about women paving the way, and it can be
Yeah.
men, I suppose. But who were the people that you looked up to musically as you were kind of maturing in this music industry?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of it has come when as I'm getting older, I'm also like realizing the hard work that people have done before us to, you know, for us to even be where we are and be able to do the things that we're doing. So it was more of a just a concept that I had been thinking about, and I presented it to the girls actually because I came up with a thing when I was on the train to the studio, because that was the last song we wrote, and we wrote it in
Okay,
the studio. And there's a lot of people, and I mean, I don't know, there's all genres, all women everywhere. I don't know, like there's so many women, but if you think into the music, like rock music, like or like Janis Joplin, for example,
sure.
or I know a song that on the album, like Nina Simone, it's not a rock artist, obviously, but uh, I just feel like there's so many women, like the Runaways and all these like classic Vixen even too, like all these women that have just gone at it hard. Joan Jett, like there's so many that have done so much, such a great job for us, the new generation, and
Sure.
to be able to be where we are. And I think that we shouldn't forget that. Sometimes I think that people kind of is, especially like if you talk about like the feminist movement in like the Western countries and in Sweden and stuff like that, that I don't know if it's a younger generation or it's just a type of person, but I feel like some people just, especially the ones that are like, oh, I'm not a feminist. Oh, feminist is a bad word, but it's like, dude, it's first of all, it's equal rights for everyone. Bottom line should be good for everyone.
Sure.
Secondly, it also is due to them that we are able to be here and be comfortable and have all these things and be able to say whatever the fuck we want and blah 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 blah. There's, it's so
Yeah.
much that I think that some people just need a little reminder, like, come on, wake up. You're not this just didn't happen by itself.
Yeah, this has been gone. People have fought for this for hundreds of years, and
Exactly. And obviously we still need to keep fighting because there's
sure,
women everywhere that feel unsafe, and there's a lot of things that are, so I feel like that song is so much more than just the music industry, but being that we are in the music industry and we still sometimes, have experiences where people look down on us or think less of us or blah blah blah. I think it's even more important to be like, don't forget the ladies that they really had it tough. Like
sure.
no respect, sexism, you name it, they had to go through it like big time. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think Nina Simone is such a great example because even though it's not rock music, I
Yeah,
think she embodies what it means to be rock and roll, to go against the grain, against the establishment, and
exactly.
doing it with such class. I mean, and then
That's
that kind of,
yeah.
sorry,
Sorry.
but that kind of brings me to another question, because you mentioning her and uh, no, I forgot her name. Janis Joplin. Is it fair to say you have a bluesy kind of influence to your singing and your vocal style as well?
Absolutely. I think that yeah, that's yeah, I would consider myself more blues rock soul. That's where that just comes naturally to me, and that's my vibe. I love R&B, soul, hip hop, even blues music now that I've like started to get into that more thanks to Mona, because she's like
Mm,
she plays in a blues band and all these things. I I love it. And and it's also intertwined. So it's really fun when I started singing rock music and like really getting into rock music, how that came out of me naturally without me even having to make an effort. And it's just, I guess it's in my heart. But
but
it's the beginning of rock music. So I mean, I guess, yeah,
it's the foundation, yeah, definitely.
it's the foundation. Yeah.
But
Can
that's
I say
interesting.
something real quick about Nina Simone?
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, that there's a song with her that Mona had as an inspiration when she started writing Aurora, which is really cool.
Mm,
This like yeah, I don't remember the song title now, but it was a Nina Simone song. So we've taken influences from like a lot more places now than we would have usually done before.
And then things that well, you mentioned this earlier that you were able to try out more things in a sense. And if we take Ease Your Pain, it's more of a ballad, and I can't remember who said this, but I heard it not too long ago. Somebody, a rock musician, said you have to earn a ballad on the album,
Ooh.
where which I found an interesting concept. So with Ease Your Pain, what was the idea? Because you have those songs that is quite energetic and heavy, and then Ease Your Pain kind of settles everything down on the album, I suppose.
Yeah.
At least to me, it did. So what was the intention with that song?
Well, first of all, we love power ballads or ballads in general.
Mm.
And I think that if you can do it, then you should do it. And we can.
Fair
I
enough.
mean, no, but it's like, we did tour with Scorpions last year and we had like that in mind a little bit. Like we want to do this like epic power ballad, but throughout our careers, like in Thundermother, like even though we've done ballads, they never really done as well as we hoped.
Mm.
But we continue doing them because I think every band should have some good ballads, and I think it's also could potentially be a good way for people that don't listen to really hard music
Sure.
to get into your band and maybe find your band and these things. But yeah, I just think it's really nice to showcase a variety of feelings and emotions, and there's so much more than just like yeah.
Must be more
Yeah, it's
interesting.
not, but
No, but no, but I think yeah, for you as musicians, and you mentioned how great of a musician Emily is, and I mean, obviously you're a great vocalist, so I can imagine that's more interesting as well to change it up a little bit.
yeah.
Now, and I mean, this we already talked about, so we don't have to get into. But the line I wrote down from that song, "You're not alone through it all," and this is again kind of the
But
girls
I
coming
can
with
tell
me.
you the backstory though, if
Okay,
you
yeah,
would
yeah, go
like
ahead.
to hear it.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Mona came up with that concept for that song as well. And it was because when everything happened, she would see me cry quite a lot. Like she just saw me devastated at all times as a wreck of a human. And Emily as well, like we were going through it hardcore. And
Mm,
she just felt like her wish was that she could have like carried some of that pain for us so we could some sort of feel a little bit better. So I think that once you know that backstory, the song has like a bigger meaning. It's not
sure,
just very surface. It's actually like a friend wanting to just kind of like save that friend in that moment because it's tough to see your friend so broken, and
sure.
hurt.
No, and I mean that's awesome, and Mona seems like such a sweet person as well. So
Yeah.
it's I'm glad you got through it, got
Me
through to
too.
the other end. There's one last thing I wanted to get into. I kind of waited till the end because I don't know if it will go anywhere. But you mentioned kind of the music that is in your heart that you kind of grew up with and everything. And now I believe you're from Uruguayan descent. Is that
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Was was that ever a musical influence early on? Because I
I
know
mean,
your father was a drummer, right?
yeah, exactly. Well, you've done your homework.
I do.
Well, I mean, I grew up in Sweden. I'm born and raised in Sweden,
Okay.
but yeah, they are immigrants from Uruguay, so we always listen to Latin music at home. I wouldn't say, I mean, there was just like one specific Uruguayan artist which I remember his name. I think his name is Ruben Rada, but it's like
Mm,
mixed with I, I don't know if you would call it like national music, but like the version of samba that's in Uruguay is called candombe, and it's this like drum
mm,
beat, and they have. So my dad played that, and they always played a lot of different music, and it would be awesome someday to maybe, you know, I never actually thought about like the Latin music influencing me because I don't know why, but I mean I've always listened to it. I mean it was always around. My parents would always put music on, and yeah. So
Oh, that's
probably,
interesting. So maybe in the future we'll see.
yeah, it would be super cool to do a mixture. And with these girls, I know we could probably do it because they can.
Last question. Now the album is coming out next year. What do you hope this album will do, and how do you, because as you mentioned and kind of detailed, you've gone through a difficult time, and now it's going a lot better. How do you see? How do you hope next year mu will go musically? And personally, it's too difficult to predict. But musically, what do you hope from next year?
Musically, I really hope that this album comes out and it gets well received by a lot of people. And I don't know, you want people to respect what you do and see you as a good musician and a talented songwriter and all these things that I know that there's people that try to make it seem like none of us know what we're doing, or we're
Mm,
not songwriters, or we don't do shit. So it's really nice to be able to have this like, oop, here's proof. We know what we're doing. This is how we sound. And that feels really good to have that. But obviously, I'm hoping that it's going to go well so we can book a lot of shows and go on tour and really get out there again and really build the band up to, you know, the heights that we wanted to go. We wanted to surpass what we did with Thundermother. And that's not me saying we're not competing with Thundermother, but we're
sure.
competing with ourselves and our own achievements. So if we played arena tours with Scorpions last year, then I definitely would love to experience that again, you know, things like that. So I'm actually really excited for next year, and the album is released on my birthday, so it's a good
Okay,
birthday gift.
it's gonna be a good day. Yeah.
Yeah.
Guernica, may I thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me.
No, thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.